The 2026-27 season is still in its toddler phase, but we can already see some big changes that have happened across clubs which could define the entire campaign. Some guys who used to be one of the first names on the team sheet last season have fallen down the pecking order for one reason or another and will now have to get more familiar with the bench this season. Who are these guys and why did that happen? You'll find out in this video today. These are 7 players who have already lost their starting spots this season. We'll start with Victor Gyökeres. Last season he was certainly a starter for Arsenal following his move from Sporting. He started 37 of the 49 games he was available for across the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League last season, and you can say he did pretty well, scoring 21 goals across all competitions and finishing as the club's top scorer. Gyökeres led the line as the Gunners went on to win the Premier League and reached the Champions League final for the first time in 22 years and 20 years respectively. But it now seems like none of that really matters to the coach anymore, as the Swedish striker appears to have lost his place in the starting lineup. He started the Community Shield game against Man City on the bench, and he did not even get a single minute in the league opener against Coventry City. Gyökeres playing and possibly scoring against his former team was something that was widely talked about in the build-up to the first game of the new Premier League season, but he ended up watching the entire game from the sidelines. The coach obviously prefers Havertz up top, that's now very evident. But rumours that the club is looking to sign a new striker before this window closes have been flying around, so things could get even worse for Gyökeres if he stays. But he is not even the only Arsenal player who has lost his starting position this season. Do you know who the other guy is? Take a guess in the comments, we'll see if you're right soon. While you're there, if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content. Done? Okay, back to the video. Let us now talk about Alvaro Carreras. We know that he started Real Madrid's first game of the season, but we all know how the season is going to go for him, don't we? The moment the club reached an agreement to sign Marc Cucurella from Chelsea, Carreras basically relinquished his position as starting left-back at the club, a status which he had last season after his move from Benfica. Having joined pre-season late due to his deep World Cup run, Cucurella was given some more time to get acclimatised to his new surroundings before he's thrown into the starting 11. But from September onwards, we're pretty sure that the former Barcelona man will be Real Madrid's main man at left-back. In fact, the game against Espanyol made us quite sure of this. Carreras was taken off for Cucurella in the 64th minute, and the former Chelsea man put up a pretty good performance in the half an hour or so he was on the pitch. That might be enough to ensure that he never sits on the bench ever again. Another Real Madrid defender who has certainly lost his starting spot in the team this season is Antonio Rudiger. Last season, injuries affected his availability so much, but whenever he was fit, he was often starting for Real Madrid. He started 24 of the 32 games he was available for across all competitions last season, but we expect that that number will drastically drop this season. The club considered letting him walk after the completion of the 2025-26 season, but after having lost Alaba and Carvajal, they decided against it as they felt they had already lost too many senior defenders. He's expected to stay for an extra year, but he's surely now only going to be a backup player, especially with the signing of Ibrahima Konate. The Germany international was left on the bench for Real Madrid's first game of the season, with Huijsen and Konate playing ahead of him, and he'll surely fall further down the pecking order once Eder Militao regains full fitness. Meanwhile, over at Barcelona, Frenkie de Jong seems like he's the latest victim of Hansi Flick's ruthlessness. The signing of Rodri certainly relegated the Dutchman to a backup role for the season, and it is surely not a good sign for his future at the club that Rafinha was named captain over him ahead of the Joan Gamper game. Barcelona will now be expected to play with Rodri and Pedri as their two sitting midfielders, with either Fermin or Olmo playing as the 10, as usual. This will leave Frenkie as nothing more than a rotational option when he returns to full fitness. You know who else is now only a rotational option at his club this season? Destiny Udogie. His 2025-26 campaign was very turbulent because of injuries, and that sidelined him for a lot of games, but when he was fit, he often made his way to the starting 11. He started 14 of the 21 games he was available for in the Premier League last season, but he'll really struggle to start games this season following the signing of Andy Robertson from Liverpool. We're sure that Spurs promised the Scottish legend ample playing time in order to convince him to join, so we don't expect that he'll be seeing the bench very often. And with Spurs missing out on Europe this season, their schedule won't even be that packed, so Robertson will be able to play a game a week. Robertson started Tottenham's first game of the season, and he wasn't bad, in spite of the embarrassing scoreline. Udogie did come off the bench, but he was played out of position. That seems to send a pretty clear message that the left-back role has been locked down by Robertson, and Udogie has lost his starting berth in the team. Now, remember we said that there's one more Arsenal player on this list. Of course, it's Martin Zubimendi. He moved to North London last summer and immediately walked into the first team. He started 45 of the 52 games he was available for across the Premier League and the Champions League, and was one player who was hard to displace from the team. He was one of just 13 outfield players who featured in every single Premier League game last season, and only Raya and Rice played more minutes for Arsenal in the league than him. So you can say that he was indeed one of the first names on the team sheet. But this season, all that is expected to change, and we actually started to see glimpses of this towards the end of last season. Arteta started to drop him towards the end of the campaign, and he didn't even come on in the Champions League final until after the expiration of the 90 minutes of normal time. It became super clear that the coach did not fancy him anymore, and apparently, pre-season did nothing to change that, as things have continued exactly like that in the new campaign. He was given a combined 37 minutes across the club's first 2 games of the new season, and we expect that to only get worse as the season goes on. Arteta obviously now prefers Miles Lewis-Skelly ahead of the Spaniard, and with the club having signed Bruno Guimaraes this summer, Zubimendi now feels even further away from the starting 11. It's not very surprising that the former Real Sociedad man was linked with a move away from the club for much of the summer. Finally, we expect Ian Maatsen to lose his starting position at Aston Villa this season following the signing of Matteo Ruggeri from Atletico Madrid. Maatsen started 23 games for Aston Villa last season across the Premier League and the Europa League, but with Lucas Digne leaving to move to PSG this summer, the expectation was that he would no longer have any competition and would not be the club's #1 left-back. But the signing of Ruggeri definitely complicates things for him. We don't believe that Ruggeri agreed to leave one of the biggest clubs in Spain to come and be a bench player at Aston Villa, so we're pretty sure he got some assurances before he put pen to paper on this one. It is for that reason that we're fairly confident that he will permanently push Maatsen to the bench this season. But considering Aston Villa will play in the Champions League this season, Maatsen will surely get a reasonable amount of playing time. But no doubt, he won't be a starter any longer. Anyway, it is now time to hear from you guys. Are there more players you would say have already lost their starting spots in their teams before the season really even starts proper? Drop their names in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye. Football fans, this is the deal you don't want to miss. Whether you're hunting for an iconic World Cup jersey or the colours of your favourite club, Goal90 Shop has the perfect pick for you. And right now, everything is a flat 15% off, with free shipping anywhere in the world. So don't wait. Hit the link in the description, head over to Goal90 Shop and grab your favourite jersey today.